Back again, and this time, for the first time, I'm going to be looking at a sequel. Let's get straight into it then, I suppose. DieBuster, or Toppo o Nerae 2, is of course the sequel to Gunbuster from last week's review. It is a 6-episode OVA series that was distributed in 6 separate installments between 2004 and 2006. It was of course produced by the studio Gainax and was written by Enakido Yoji and Tsurumaki Kazuya, who in turn also directed this beastly piece of fiction. Now before I jump in on this, there's going to be a lot of comparison with its predecessor going on in this review, so either way you should watch Gunbuster before this one, as it is a sequel after all. But it'd also do you good to watch my review on that show beforehand as well, so you can get the clearest view on my opinions. With that kerfuffle out of the way, DieBuster begins on Mars in a year that is not actually made explicitly clear, but we can tell it's way off in the future from what's going down. We follow the trials and tribulations of a clumsy young lass by the name of Nono. She begins the series working in a bar and comes across as a very ditzy and bubbly character. She has strong dreams and aspirations to become a space pilot and defeat the space monsters who are still abundant in the solar system, but is in a situation where that seems like an impossible feat to achieve. The motivation behind her actions falls on her childlike aspiration to become an ally of justice like the legendary space pilot Nonoriri, who she cares so much about but nobody else seems to have heard of. Overall, she was an exceptionally positive character, and though coming across very simple-minded, has an important system of ideals that allows her to grow and develop as the series progresses. One day at work, she gets saved from some robotic ruffian harassment by an outsider named lal'c. It's spelt like that, I can barely pronounce it, but can you blame me? LAL''C? lal'c is the top scoring member of an elite space pilot team known as the Topless. She's a strong, self-confident and cool young girl with an unwavering disposition. She's a figure of respect to all those who know her, and Nono soon begins to idolise her and do whatever she can to seek her favour. She's an essential character to the series, is so important and kind of single-handedly fills the roles of Coach and Amano from the last series, whilst remaining unique and interesting in her own right. Shortly after their meeting, we get our first space monster conflict halfway through the first episode, and lal'c's Buster machine, DieBuster, is fully revealed to combat this monster. Buster machines were all the Topless pilot, and there are said to only be around 31 of them in current existence at the start of the show. During this battle, Nono ends up being taken to space with lal'c and becomes a member of Fraternity, the group lal'c and all the other Topless belong to. A group whose goal is to rid the universe of the space monster threat. Much like you can expect, from this point on the show is about Nono's growth and development and a bunch of extremely flashy conflicts with space monsters. There is also a significant chunk of behind-the-scenes development and internal struggles within Fraternity as the show progresses, so all in all everything converges into a well-rounded and compelling narrative. In terms of style and feeling, the show gives off an incredibly different aura to its predecessor. One thing I commended Gunbuster for was the mystery surrounding the space monsters at the plot's inception, but in this series they are right up in your face within the first 15 minutes of its runtime. There was a sense of realism before, but from the get-go here everything is full of energy and intentionally over the top. It feels a great deal more like a straight-up super robot anime, and all the Buster machines have such high power levels that they make the original Gunbuster seem like a Kinder Egg toy. I mean, the original Gunbuster was hella powerful, but the Buster machines in this show I'd say are only trumped by the Tengen Toppa and Lagan. They aren't quite the size of galaxies, but they're happy to throw Jupiter around like a basketball and use the Earth as a gun. This aspect of its lunacy was exceptionally well executed though. The sheer sense of scale was made absolutely clear, and it's always amusing to me when fiction goes completely overboard like this. It's over 1 trillion degrees! I love it. But though there is a great deal of difference in style and execution here, I do believe there are more similarities between these two shows than what may be visible on the surface. The ideals and themes that crop up are consistent, as are the respective trials that Nono and Noriko had to face. I loved how though this one was a show giving off vibes more akin to FLCL than anything else, it still feels like a true sequel to a classic show like Gunbuster. There was also a similar change in tone in this show. The first few episodes were incredibly light-hearted, and the repercussions of the conflicts at hand didn't seem monumental at all. It honestly felt a bit too much like an action-focused Monster of the Week for a bit, and they really did go over the top on the fan service. I mean, it was present in Gunbuster, but here it was actually distracting and unnecessary at times until the Neuron completely cut it out around halfway through. Another thing this show could have done without is the amount they try to reference its predecessor, and they do it in a way that a show completely disconnected to the franchise would do it. The show feels enough like a sequel already, so these references feel a tad unnecessary and honestly damage its integrity as an anime. It's cool to see, I get it, and I can imagine it's there to bring up memories for long-running fans of the original who would have seen this 15 years later. But for me, having watched them near enough back to back, it was a quality I could have done without, because more than anything it stops DieBuster from existing as a work in its own right. This is barely a drop in the ocean though, and it certainly didn't have a profound effect on my enjoyment of the 3 hours I spent with it. There were no time skips like in the first series, and it just barged through a truckload of intense content without stopping. It was a great watch and was delicious to look at, I must add. So it looks nothing at all like its predecessor, and instead looks a great deal like Tsurumaki's directorial debut, FLCL. There's such a vivid amount of bright colour, and it's just so obnoxiously flashy, I love it. There was also a fantastic use of lighting, so even when there was nothing in your face going on, the atmosphere was dead on. The action scenes were so well choreographed and looked utterly mind-breaking. It helped that the design of the Buster machines were completely eccentric and out there, and well looked nothing like anything else except Digimon? Maybe? They were really weird and cool, and though not as iconic or trim as the original Gunbuster, had so much character to them that won't be easy to forget. There's also this, which is kind of a spoiler to talk about, but it's what I had in my head when I thought of DieBuster before I saw the show, and is probably the most iconic portrayal of the Gainax pose ever. Then as far as the character design goes, certain side characters had so little visual definition that I've probably already forgotten most of them. But Nono's design was honestly immaculate, and lal'c's was perfect for the way her character is represented. I really loved the design on these Serpentine twins too. They look all weird and dark and served as a good contrast to the brightness seeping for all corners of the screen at any given time. Overall, Gainax hit the nail on the head here, as they generally do. And the same goes for the audio. The biggest thing I got from the score and latched onto was how certain compositions gave off vibes of other Gainax productions. For example, during some of the earlier conflicts with the space monsters, I heard immense similarities to some of the angel battle music from Evangelion. So this added another level of entertainment to the music that was already excellent and fitting to the mood. The opening was brilliant too. It's so upbeat and completely matches the show's feeling in the early stages. And as I was expecting, we had a great cast of voice actors, and though the voiceover wasn't enough to give additional depth to some of the more forgettable side characters, the performances for the core group were excellent. This was given even greater clarity when it came to the use of voice effects and such. The appropriate use of echo and enhancements put certain sections of dialogue on a level above many other productions. And of course, there was more screaming. And a return of this wonderful noise. DieBuster! DieBuster! Glorious. All in all, I think DieBuster did a fantastic job in meeting the bar raised by its predecessor. It was lacking in certain areas the original excelled in, but also had points I believe exceeded the original too. Overall, it didn't quite match the original's quality, but got damn close, I must say. So the rating this tasty morsel shall be receiving today is 75%. It was thoroughly enjoyable, and now having seen both of these, I feel I can truly appreciate the genre. So if you're big on Tengen Toppa, G Gundam, or any other over-the-top super robot shows, then these two need to be on your watch list. Same deal as with Gunbuster, unfortunately, in that this one was licensed by Bandai Visual and Bees Entertainment before they kicked the bucket. But I do believe that's all we have time for, as I need to be getting down to watching a certain 40-episode series. So until next time, see you next week.